I live in a city called Utrecht, which is situated right here. Back in the 1800s, it used to be the religious center of the Netherlands, but nowadays it's mostly known for its beautiful historic city center. And I absolutely love it here. But at some point, the government was about to completely change the city's layout, which would have meant that a lot of the sites you've just seen would have been destroyed. That's the true story I'll be talking about today. Utrecht has actually managed to keep car traffic under control quite well. It's amazing for everyone not in a car, because it decided that they should create pedestrian areas and that parking should only be done at the edge of the inner city. This results in people being guided to the center by, for example, walking or biking. But then in the 1950s, shopkeepers began to protest against these pedestrian areas. They thought that if people couldn't park in front of their stores, they wouldn't be able to attract customers. It's very true that even these days, driving through Utrecht is still not very fun. But nowadays, most people have accepted it and either take bike or use public transport. But back then, cars were all the rage. Amsterdam, the capital city of the Netherlands, also had plans to fill up big parts of their canals. Everyone wanted to become a little bit American. So the consensus at the time was that if you didn't make the city center accessible by car, it would bleed out. And there were already a lot of traffic jams caused by lack of space in the roads. So there should be way more space. But where? To answer that question, the municipality gave German traffic engineer Feuchtinger the task of improving the traffic situation. So he came up with 3 plans. Plan 1 entailed that the canal would not be filled up, but there would be 2 single carriageways. One on the inside of the canal and the other on the outside. This would then come at the expense of greenery around the canal. In the second plan, the canal around Utrecht would be filled in to make way for a 2-lane road that would promote the flow of cars. Plan 3 was similar to Plan 2, but with a city highway with 2 interchanges instead of a 2-lane road. I find it very hard to imagine that the plan was actually approved by the municipality. But it was. And instantly there was a lot of opposition. The State Secretary of Education, Arts and Sciences immediately announced that the ramparts and strongholds are monuments and should not be filled in. It turned into a protest which was widely supported by citizens, students and left-wing activists. The battle was fierce. And as the protest continued, it wasn't clear anymore what would happen with the plan. Meanwhile, a big shopping center and a new music centrum would continue to be built, together with a big parking lot. Slowly but surely, the plan to fill in the canals fell into oblivion. Ultimately, almost 10 years later, in 1968, only the Weert-singel and the Northern Catharijnen-singel made way for the second shortest highway in the Netherlands. It was less than 2 kilometers long and stayed there until 2010, when work began to remove it again in order to bring back the old canal. So the protests were successful, and I am really glad about that. Even the houses that would have been destroyed weren't so special back then, but now play a big part in the city's identity. While researching, I learned that recently some dark facts came up about the traffic engineer's past. In the Second World War, he led the organization Todd, a construction company for Germany located in Norway. According to a report written by the Norwegian Technics Museum, the company employed many forced laborers. They had to work for the Germans under very bad conditions, and many of them died while working there. My heart goes out to their families. I don't want this video to get too depressing, but I thought it was a really interesting and important fact, so I had to include it. If you want to read more about this, a link to the entire publication can be found in the description. Anyhow, the municipality of Utrecht must not have known this, or they would have definitely not worked together with Feuchtinger. Nowadays, almost nothing of the results of this urban development struggle can be seen in Utrecht. The shopping mall has been renovated, the music center has been built, and water has been flowing through the canal again since 2017. So the city gets to keep its beautiful buildings and canals, which will hopefully stay there for the rest of eternity. This was all I had to share for today. Until next time.